Hi there, I'm Sumati here. Today we're going to discuss history. The lesson name is Mauryan Emperor, and this is going to be useful for the people who are preparing for the IAS and KS and other competitive exams, and people who are preparing for means as well as prelims. It's going to be useful for your answer writing and the optional subjects. Let us get into the today's subject, that is Mauryan Emperor. Today we are going to elaborately discuss the different sources or on this Mauryan Emperor, that is the sources of study of the Mauryas, Chandragupta Maurya and his achievements, Ashoka and his achievements and the spread of Ashoka Dharma, the silent future of the Mauryan administrations, art and architecture of Mauryas, and the causes for the decline of Mauryan Empire. Without wasting much time, let us get into today's discussion. The foundation of Mauryan Empire opens a new era in the history of India. For the first time, the political unity was achieved in India. Moreover, the history writing has also become a clear from this period due to accuracy in chronology and sources. Beside plenty of indigenous and foreign literary sources, a number of epigraphical records are also available to write the history of this period. Literacy sources, that is Kautilya's Arthashastra. This book is Sanskrit, was written by Kautilya, a contemporary of Chandragupta Maurya. Kautilya was also called Indian Machiavelli. The manuscript of Arthashastra was first discovered by R. Sharma Sastri in 1904. The Arthashastra contains 15 books and 180 chapters, but it can be divided into three parts. The first deal with the king and his council and the department of government. The second with the civil and criminal law, and third with the diplomacy and war. It is the most important literary source for the history of the Mauryas. Vishakadatta's Mudra Rakshasa. The Mudra Rakshasa written by Vishakadatta is a Dharma in Sanskrit. Although written during the Gupta period, it describes now Chandragupta with the assistance of Kautilya overthrew the Nandas. It also gives the picture of on the socio-economic conditions under the Mauryas. Megasthenes Indica. Megasthenes was the Greek ambassador in the court of Chandragupta Maurya. His book Indica has survived only in fragments, yet his account gives details about the Mauryan administrations, particularly the administration of the capital city of Pataliputra, and also the military organization. His picture on contemporary social life is notable. Certain unbelievable information provided by him has to be treated with caution. Other literature, apart from these three important works, the Puranas and Buddhist literature such as Jatakas provide importance on the Mauryas. The Silonius chronicles Deepavamsa and Mahavamsa throws the light on the role of Ashoka in spreading Buddhism in Sri Lanka. Archaeological sources, edicts of Ashoka. The inscription of Ashoka were first deciphered by James Prince in 1837. They are written in a Pali language, and in some places Prakrit was used. The Brahmi script was employed for writing. In the northeastern India, Ashokan inscriptions were found in Kharoshti script. There are 14 major rock edicts. The two Kalinga edicts are found in the newly conquered territory. The major pillar edicts were erected in important cities. There are minor rock edicts and minor pillar edicts. These edicts of Ashoka deal with Ashoka's Dharma and also instructions given to his officials. The 13th rock edict gives the detail of his war with the Kalinga. The pillar edict 7 gives a summary of his effort to promote the Dharma with his kingdom. Thus, the Ashokan inscriptions remains the valuable source for the study of Ashoka and the Mauryan emperor. Political history of the Mauryas. Chandragupta Maurya, the first hero, and his time period is 322 to 298 BC. Chandragupta Maurya was the founder of Mauryan Empire. He, at the age of 25, captured the Pataliputra from the last ruler of Nanda dynasty, Dhanananda. In this task, he was assigned by Kautilya, who was also known as the Chanakya or Vishnugupta. After firmly establishing his power in the Gangetic Valley, he marched to the northwest and subdued the territories up to the Indus. Then he moved to central India and occupied the region north of Narmada River. In 305 BC, he marched against Seleucus Nicator, who was Alexander's general controlling the northwestern India. Chandragupta Maurya defeated him and treaty was signed. By this treaty, Seleucus Nicator ceded the trans-Indus territories, namely Arya, Arocostia, and Gadorsia. The Mauryan emperor, he also gave his daughter in marriage to the Mauryan prince. Chandragupta made a gift of 500 elephants to the Seleucus. Megasthenes was sent to Mauryan court as a Greek ambassador. Chandragupta embraced Jainism toward the end of his life and stepped down from the throne in favor of his son Bindusara. Then he went to Shravanabelagola near Mysuru along with the Jain monks led by the Bhadrabahu and starved himself to death. Bindusara's timing was 298 to 273 BC. Bindusara was called by the Greeks as a Amitragrata, meaning a slayer of the enemies. He is said to have conquered the Deccan up to Mysuru, Taranatha. The Tibetan monks stated that Bindusara conquered 16 states comprising the land between the two seals. The Sangam Tamil literature also confirmed the Mauryan invasion of the far south. Therefore, it can be said that Mauryan Empire under Bindusara extended up to Mysuru. Bindusara received Dimachus as ambassador from the Syrian king Antiochus. Bindusara wrote to Antiochus I asking for sweet wine, dried things, and the sophist. The later sent all but sophist because the Greek law prohibited sending a sophist. Bindusara supported that Ajvikas, a religious sect. Bindusara appointed his son Ashoka as the governor of Ujjain. Next greatest hero of our chapter is Ashoka the Great. His time period is 273 to 232 BC. There are little informations regarding the early life of Ashoka. He acted as a governor of Ujjain and also suppressed a revolt in Takshila during his father Bindusara's region. There was an interval of 4 years between Ashoka's ascensions to the throne, 273 BC, and his actual coronations were 269 BC. Therefore, it appears from the available evidence that there was a struggle for the throne after Bindusara's death. The Ceylonese chronicles Deepa Vamsha and the Mahavamsa states that Ashoka captured power after killing his 99 brothers, including his elder brother Susima. The youngest brother Tisa was spared, but according to the Taranatha of Tibet, Ashoka killed only 6 of his brothers. Ashoka's edict also refers to his brother acting as officers in his administration. However, it is clear that the successions of Ashoka was disputed one. The most important event of Ashoka's region was his victorious war with Kalinga in 261 BC. Although there is no detail about the cause and course of the war, the effects of the war were described by Ashoka himself in Rock Edict 13. 150,000 were killed and many times that number perished. After the war, he annexed King Kalinga to the Mauryan emperor. Another most important effect of the Kalinga war was that Ashoka embraced Buddhism under the influence of Buddhist monk Upagupta. Ashoka and Buddhism. According to some scholars, his conversions to Buddhism was gradual and not immediate. About 261 BC, Ashoka became a Sakya Upasaka, lay disciple, and two of his year later, Bhikshu, that is monk. Then he gave up hunting, visited Buddha Gaya, and organized missions. He appointed special officers called Dharma Mahamantras to spread up the progress of Dharma. In 241 BC, he visited the birthplace of Buddha, the Lumbini garden near Kapilavastu. He also visited over other holy places of Buddhism like Sarnatha, Shravanti, and Kushinagara. He sent mission to Sri Lanka under his son Mahendra and daughter Sangamitra, who planted there the branch of the original Bodhi tree. Ashoka converted the third Buddhist council at Pataliputra in 240 BC. In order to strengthen the Sangha, it was persisted over the Mangaliputta Tissa. So extensions of Ashoka's empire. Ashoka's inscriptions mentions the southernmost kingdom, Cholas, Pandavas, Satyaputras, and Keralaputras, and other states. Therefore, these states remained outside the Mauryan Empire. According to Raja Tarangini, Kashmiri was a part of the Mauryan Emperor. Nepal was also within the Mauryan Empire. The northwestern frontier was already demarcated by Chandragupta Maurya. Ashoka's Dharma. Ashoka Dharma embraced Buddhism and took efforts to spread Buddhism. His policy of Dharma was a still broad concept. It was a way of life, a code of conduct, and a set of principles to be adopted and practiced by the people at large. His principles of Dharma were clearly stated in his edicts. The main features of Ashoka's Dharma, as mentioned in his various edicts, may be summoned as follows: service of father and mother, practice of ahimsa, love of truth, reverence to teachers, and good treatment of relatives. Prohibition of animal sacrifice and festive gathering, and avoiding expensive and meaningless ceremonies and rituals, and effective organization of administration in the directions of social welfare and maintenance of the constant contract with people through the system of Dhammayatras. Human treatment of servants by masters and prisoners by government officials, considerations and non-violations to animal and courtesy to relations, and liberality to Brahmins, tolerance among all the religious sects, and conquest through dharma instead of through war. The concept of non-violence and other similar ideas of dharma, Ashoka dharmas, are identical with the teachings of Buddha, but he did not equate dharma with Buddhist teachings. Buddhism remained his personal belief. His dharma signifies a general code of conduct. Ashoka wished that his dharma should spread through all social levels. Estimate of Ashoka. Ashoka was the greatest of king and surpassing Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar and other renowned emperors of the world, according to H.G. Wells. Amidst the tens and thousands of names of monarchies that crowd the columns of history, the name of Ashoka shines and shines almost alone, a star. Ashoka was true to his ideals, and he was not a dreamer but a man of practical genius, and his dharma is also universal, that it appeals to humanity even today. He was an example in history for the benevolent administration and also for following the policy non-aggressions even after his victory in the war. His central idea was to promote the welfare of humanity. Later Mauryans, Ashoka's death in 232 BC was followed by the division of the Mauryan Empire into two parts, western and eastern. The western part of ruled by Kunala, son of Ashoka, and the eastern part of Dasaratha, one of the grandson of Ashoka. Due to the Bactrian invasions, the western part of the emperor collapsed. The eastern part was intact under Samprati, successor of Dasharatha. The last Mauryan king was Brihatratha, who was assassinated by Pushyamitra Sangha. So, Mauryan administration, central government, the ascendancy of Mauryas had resulted in the trump of monarchy in India. Other systems like republicas and oligarchies that were prevalent in the pre-Mauryan India and collapsed. Although Kautilya, the foremost political theorist of ancient India, supported the monarchical form of government, he did not stand for royal absolutism. He advocated the king should take the advice of his ministry in running the administration. Therefore, a council of ministers called Mantri Parishad assisted the king in administrative matters. It consisted of Purohit, Mahamantri, and Senapati, and Yuvaraj. There were civil servants called Amadhyas to look after the day-to-day administrations. These officers were similar to the IAS officers of independent India. The method of selections of Amadhyas was elaborately given by Kautilya. Ashoka appointed Dharma Mahamantras to supervise the spread of Dharma. Thus, the Mauryan state had a well-organized civil service. Revenue Department. Samhartha, the chief of the revenue department, was in charge of collections of the revenues of the emperor. The revenue came from land, irrigation, customs, shop tax, ferry tax, and forest, mines, and pastures license free from the craftsmen. The fine collected in the low courts, the land revenue was normally fixed as 1/6 of the produce. The main items of expenditure of the state related to king and his household, army, government servants, and public works, poor relief and religion, etc. Army. The Mauryan army was well organized and it was under the control of Senapati. The salaries were paid in cash. Kautilya refers to the salaries of different rank of military officers according to Greek author Pliny. The Mauryan army consisted of 6 lakh infantry, 30,000 cavalry, 9,000 elephants, and 8,000 chariots. In addition to this, 4 wings. There were the navy and transport and supply wings. Each wing was under the control of Adishankyas or superintendents. Megasthenes mentions 6 boards of 5 members, each to control the 6 wings of the military. So first one is Department of Commerce and Industry. This department had controlled the retail and wholesale prices of goods and tried to ensure the steady supply through its officers called Adikshasa. It also controlled weight and measures, levied customs duties, and regulated foreign trades. Next one is the second most important administration system was Judicial and Police Department. Kautilya mentioned the existence of both civil and criminal courts. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court at the capital was called Dharmatirkarin. There were also subordinate courts that the provincial capitals and districts under the Amadhyas. Different kind of punishments such as fines, imprisonment, mutilations, and death were given to the officers. Torture was employed to extract truth. Police stations were found in all principal centers. Both Kautilya and Ashoka had mentions about jails and jail officials, and the Dharma Mahamantras were asked by Ashoka to take steps against unjust imprisonment. Remissions of sentences is also mentioned in Ashoka's inscriptions. Next one is census. The taking of census was regular during the Mauryan period. The village officials were to number the people along with other detail like their caste and occupations. They were also to count the animals in each house. The census in the town was taken by municipal officials to track the movement of population, both foreign and indigenous. The data collected were cross-checked by these species, and the census appears to be a permanent instructions in the Mauryan administrations. Next one is provincial and local administration. The Mauryan emperor was divided into 4 provinces with their capital at Takshila, Ujjain, and Sarva, Suvarnagiri, and Kalinga. The provincial governor were most appointed from the members of royal family. They were responsible the maintenance of law and order and collections of the taxes for the emperor. The district administration was under the charge of Rajukas, whose possession and functions are similar to modern collectors. He was assigned by Yuktas or subordinate officials. Village administration was in the hands of Gramini, and official superior was called Gopa, who was in charge of 10 or 15 villages. Both Kautilya and Megasthenes provided the system of municipal administration. Arthashastra contains a full chapter of the role of Nagarika or city superintendent. His chief duty was to maintain law and order. Megasthenes referred to 6 committee of 5 members, each to look after the administration of Pataliputra. These committees looked after 1 industry, 2nd foreigners, 3rd registration, birth and death, the trade. Next one is manufacture, sales of goods, and 6th one is collections of sales tax. Mauryan art and architecture period was the monument before the period of Ashoka were mostly made of wood and therefore perished. The use of stone started from the time of Ashoka. Even after numerous monuments of Ashoka, only a few have remained. His place and monasteries and also of his stupas have disappeared. The only remaining stupa is at Sanchi. The artistic remains of a Mauryan period can be seen in the following heads. The pillars erected by Ashoka furnished the finest specimen of the Mauryan art. Ashokan pillars with the inscriptions were found in places like Delhi, Allahabad, Rumandai, Sanchi, and Saranath. Their top were crowned with the figures of animals like lion, elephants, and bull. The Saranatha pillar with 4 lions and standing back to back, the most magnificence. The Indian government adopted his capital with some modification as its state emblem. So next one is stupas. Ashoka built a number of stupas and throughout his emperor, but majority of them were destroyed during the foreign invasions. Only a few have survived. The best example is famous Sanchi Stupa with a massive dimension. It was originally built with the bricks but later enlarged after the time of Ashoka. Caves. The caves presented to the Ajvikas by Ashoka and his son Dasharatha remain important heritage of the Mauryas. Their interior walls are polished like mirror. These were the meant to be residence of monks. The caves of Barabar, hills near Buddhagaya are wonderful pieces of Mauryan architecture. Causes for the decline of Mauryans. The causes for the decline of the Mauryan Empire has been widely debated by scholars. The traditional approach attributes the decline of Ashoka's policies and his weak successor. Another approach holds the inadequate political and economical institutions to sustain such a vast empire. It was said that Ashoka pro-Buddhist policies antagonized the Buddhism, who brought about revolutions led by Pushyamitra Sangha, but Ashoka was never acted against Brahmins. That Ashoka's policy of non-violence reduced the fighting spirit of his army was another charge against him. But Ashoka had never slackened his control over his enemy despite following the practice pacifist policy. Therefore, solemnly blaming Ashoka for the decline of the Mauryan Empire may not be correct because Ashoka was more pragmatic than the idealist. There are multiple causes for the decline of Mauryan Emperor, such as weak successor, partition of emperor, and administration abuses after Ashoka's reign. The combinations of these factors spread up the breakup of Mauryan Empire and facilitated Pushymitra Sangha to divide away and Mauryan power and establish the Sangha dynasty. So after learning this lesson, you can able to answer for this. What are the topic that we have detailedly discussed? Once again, I'll just point it out here. The literary and epigraphical sources for the study of Mauryas, the accessions of Chandragupta Maurya and his achievement, and Bindusara military achievements, and Ashoka's spread of Dharma through various means such as issuing the edicts and appointing officers like Dharma Mahamantras. The silent feature of the Mauryan art such as pillar, caves and stupas, causes for declining of Mauryan emperor. I'll leave some of the model questions here that would be helpful for you guys to answer by yourself. The detail of Ashoka war with the Kalinga is given in the option. You can select any one of this, and the language most employed, the edicts of Ashoka, is also given the options. And the filling the blanks, Ashoka edicts were first disappeared by dash, and the last Mauryan king was dash, and Ashoka embraced Buddhism under the influence of dash. The state emblem of India was adopted from dash pillar. So I have given the match the following also, and some of the question answer here. Write a short notes. Kautilya's Arthashastra, which is very very important. Often it will be asked in the multiple competitive questions like IAS, UPS, UPSC and KPSC exams. So concentrate on Kautilya's Arthashastra, Kalinga War, Megasthenes and Bindusara. All these question answer is very very important for you guys to write and practice. Write a note on achievement of Chandragupta Maurya. Mention the efforts taken by Ashoka for the spread of Buddhism. Assess the significance of Mauryan art and analyze the causes for the decline of Mauryan Empire. Give an account of Ashoka's achievement and policy of Dharma. Write in detail the silent feature of the Mauryan administration. With this, I'll be stopping today's lesson. I hope today's class will be useful for you guys, because this is one of the most important administration system, because in this we have a Kautilya Shastra is involved. So concentrate on this. Do like my videos and subscribe my channel for more updates. Thank you and have a great day.